Hello everyone and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of round number 8 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT series here at the Nurburgring Nord GP configuration here tonight. Alongside me tonight is Daniel Leet. My name is Scott Newton, and welcome Daniel. Should be a cracking race here tonight, given that we've got 34 cars on the grid tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Scott, and all the viewers tuning in. Welcome aboard. Great to have you here. But yeah, fantastic race tonight by the looks of it at Nurburgring. Good split of drivers, as you say, 35 out on track at the moment, and I think we're going to be in for a really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from last week at the Le Mans endurance race, should be quite a bit of a different challenge for the drivers out here tonight with the shorter straights and tighter hairpins, but with the track conditions out there at the moment, it's fairly clear out there with pretty much no cloud in sight. So what do you think are the challenges out there for the drivers tonight?
Yeah, I think the guys are going to have a pretty big reset, obviously going from the long straights of Le Mans to something a little bit more technical at Nurburgring here. Probably the big challenges are going to be the rundown into turn 1, with the road falling away from you there and a really sharp right-hander hairpin. That's going to really see probably a little bit of action early on as the guys funnel their way through there. Then off that, through the stadium section's a big one, and then maybe down towards the back end of the lap as well, so get up through that education chicane and make the run across Coca-Cola and through the final straight to start or complete their lap. So there's a few good overtaking opportunities for the guys here, but going to be very, very interesting to see how the guys adapt from what we saw last week at Le Mans to tonight at Nurburgring.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up the track conditions quickly, if I can find it. Just 1 second. So we've got a ambient temperature of 18 degrees out there tonight, but a warm one in terms of the track temperature of 39 degrees. So should be plenty of power out there for the drivers out there, but with those track conditions being fairly reasonable out there, should be fairly easy for the drivers to be able to get the tyres up to temperature very, very quickly.
Yeah, certainly not going to have any dramas getting the tyres up with that sort of track temp out there. Later on with the race, it certainly will come into a bit of strategy where the guys decide to pit. Obviously tonight being a 45-minute race, there is one mandatory pit stop that the guys will need to make, so we'll keep an eye on that. But more than likely, I'd expect maybe with that slightly hotter track temperature, we might see these guys maybe split this up a little more neutral in towards the middle of the stint, as opposed to some of the other races we've seen them go a little further towards the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. And whilst the drivers are gridding up, we'll be able to take you through tonight's grid order for the 9th round of the championship. So Craig Edwards ends up on the pole position, and alongside him is Adam Gardner. 3rd is Danny Davison, and in 4th is the Pulse Racing team driver of William Mitchell, Steve Lattimore in 5th. Cody Bird in 6th, Justin Wallace a little bit further back than what we'd usually see him, but he sits in 7th position. Lee Vandenberg in 8th, Matty Morris in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Dave Clements. Daniel Misdale in the 12th position, as some of the drivers are getting shuffled through. Jeremy Clark into 13th, Johannes Koch in 14th, Martin Crisp in 15th, Timothy Phoeben 16th, Kenneth Latta in 17th, Neil Pearson in 18th, Scotty Chambers in 19th, and Scott Gamble rounding out the top 20. Michael Kirkham in the 21st position, Martin Casey 22nd. Just have the rest of the drivers scrolling through the screen as we're about to take the start here today. So Craig Edwards in control of the field, and we're underway, and Craig gets a great start. Adam Gardner in 2nd position. Looks as though that everyone's got a fairly clean start, to say the least. Is going to go 2 wide into the first turn. You go 3 wide and a little bit further back, but it looks as though that everyone's made it through cleanly so far. I see that Daniel Misdale's falling down the timer screen quite rapidly at the moment. We'll have to try and find out what happened to him. Must have been a spin or a bit of contact but everyone's made it through cleanly so far.
Yeah, it looks like I did see a spinning forward and turn one there. Not quite sure what happened there, but no doubt race control all over that one. Dave Clement really starting to apply a little bit of pressure to Matt Morris in the Porsche there. You see Matt drifting a little wide on exit, but these guys settling down pretty well. It doesn't look like either of those two drivers have lost the position off the start, so they're working pretty well. We're just up ahead of that. Lee Vandenberg starting to get a run on the back of Justin Wallace in the Porsche.
Yeah, see that Ferrari just losing it a little bit on the Porsche of Wallace ahead of him, but everyone pretty much single file. We've got too wide in the back there at the Dunlop curve, so making it their way to the third sector of the lap through the sweeping left and right-handed, but onto the back straight here. Vandenberg a lot closer than he was last time at the exit of the hairpin of the Dunlop curve.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's quite got the pace on that Ferrari at the moment. We do know they are very strong in a straight line, but look for him to probably come on a little bit later in the race once the tyres get up, although saying that gets a great run out of that final chicane there, trying to get a move done up the inside. Not quite going to get that one checked off now, but really starting to let the intentions be known that he wants to try and move his way forward up through the field.
Yeah, that line compromised him certainly on the way through that final corner as they're heading on to lap number 2. There's Dave Clemens in the background trying to make a move on Matty Morris. He ran the outside. That's a great move for Clemens to move up into the 9th position. It's not very often that you see an overtake around that corner, but certainly an awesome overtake from Clemens.
Yeah, that's a huge move around the outside there, very bold. You see a penalty being issued, car 331. That's a 30-second stop and hold for incident down on turn 1, lap 1. So I think that would be involving that Ford that we saw going around on. See if we can get a name to that car number, but at the moment, everyone getting back up underway. The field at the moment stretching all the way back to the exit of the stadium section as well. So the guys are starting to get a little bit of a train up now.
Yeah, just looking a little bit further back. Kenneth Later putting a lot of pressure on Martin Crisp. Chris being the highest rookie at the moment in 14th position. Out of, I think it's 3 rookies in the field at the moment. There's Lattimore falling down the timing screen as well. See if we can bring a replay of that one. We'll see that another penalty for car number 746 for a collision at turn 3, lap 1.
So that first car that we called was Jeremy Clark there, the 331, and then the 746, that's actually Scotty Gamble for Pulse Racing, so he won't be too impressed with that one. We'll wonder if we can find out what was the cause of that incident. We didn't actually pick it up on camera there, but keep an eye out on what's going on there. Steve Lattimore sitting pretty comfortably in 6th position, but we'll jump back here and check out this replay of Wallace.
Just going back to the Lattimore incident, and yeah, that was the Pulse Racing team driver of William Mitchell just getting into the back of Lattimore and quickly redresses that. So we'll have to see whether that's a penalty, but that was quickly redressed, so the race stewards may find that in favour. But yeah, saying that though, Lattimore out of position just a little bit, finds himself in the 6th position at the moment.
Yeah, generally a little bit of self-redressing there does go a long way in the eyes of race control, but no doubt they'll be keeping an eye on that. But Lattimore at the moment sitting in that 6th position, so that incident did drop him 1 down from where he started tonight. But overall lap pace still looking quite good in the car at the moment. Last time by was a 1:55.7, so a lot of pace in that Ford. We know how slippery they are in a straight line as well, so look for him to work his way through. Only 5 minutes a lap so far and plenty of racing left of this one.
So just looking a little bit further up ahead, we've got Wallace all over the back of Cody Bird at the moment. It's coming through that back straight into the final chicane. and even Lattimore getting deep under brakes there. But Cody Bird holding on to the 4th position at the moment. Give you a bit of an idea of what half a second gap looks like as Wallace runs wide at the final corner. Got to be very, very careful with that off track as well. Even though there is no incident limit, you've got to be careful whether the stewards are looking at the track limit abuse.
See just how difficult getting in through turn 1 is there. Justin Wallace, a little bit of understeer on initial entry, and that threw him off a little bit. He closed up hugely under brakes. See the alternate lines that the guys take, especially through that turn 4 and 5 exiting the stadium section there. Both Wallace and Lattimore running 2 completely different lines there. It also looks like Cody Bird's got himself a new livery out there tonight as well. The yellow, grey and black looking pretty sharp on that BMW also.
Yeah, just looking for a battle further back. We've got Brett Hender as well, putting pressure on Matt Morris just up ahead, who's trying to put pressure on Clements. It's battle for 8th through 11th. This little battle pack here. We've got Johannes Koch just behind that, 6/10 behind. But Hender having a strong result today. Saw that didn't necessarily have the best result last week at Le Mans, but certainly making up for his result tonight.
Yeah, definitely driving very, very well. Hender last week, I was just having a look at the times to see where he finished. He actually came in 11th last week out at Le Mans, so this is already a good run for him, coming up in that 11th spot, 1 up from where he started already, and starting to really get that pressure going on the back of Matt Morris. We see the 3 of Jeremy Clark coming in the lane to serve his penalty for that contact in turn 1, lap 1. So we'll see him have a 30-second hold and get back underway, and that will drop him well down the order. But Hender looking pretty good in the BMW at the moment. Just behind him, as you said, Johannes Koch, not that far behind, and lap times for both of those 2 drivers, not much in between them at all.
Yeah, just seen in the background. It was just in the corner of the frame. Johannes Koch running a bit too deep and spinning it at the turn 1 apex, so he's lost quite a number of positions. He finds himself back in 16th. So that forward going around the outside, that's Scotty Gamble and Dave Miller trying to go up the inside as well. I think he might get it, but with that left-hander will shortly turn into the advantage to Johannes Koch. But Miller going right around the outside. That was a great move for that Redback racing car. Also, Michael Kirkham trying to capitalise on that as well, trying to go around the outside as well. So, in the space of half a lap, Johannes Koch has lost about 6 positions from that small mistake. So, you can see how brutal one tiny mistake can be.
Yeah, and then unlike Le Mans where you can get back in the draft and pull yourself forward again, you do lose a lot of time here with the guys starting to freight train you through, as we see there. Looks like we've also got an incident for William Mitchell in the 715 Ferrari for Pulse Racing as well, so penalty that he'll need to come in and serve within the next few laps. But just in front of Johannes, there's still 3 wide as the guys funnel their way down into that final chicane, and Kirkham, Gamble and Miller scrapping over what is 15th position at the moment.
Yeah, just looking at the race control message, that a lesser penalty has been awarded to 715 of William Mitchell. Typically, I think the minimum stop and hold is 20 seconds, but yeah, with that quick redress has been able to give Mitchell a lesser penalty, but still a penalty nonetheless. Just looking up further up the front now, we see that Adam Gardner is up in the 1st position at the moment. See that Craig Edwards has fallen to 2nd place. See that Adam Gardner's got very, very strong pace, given that his best lap is a 1 minute 52.5, comparing that to Edwards of a 52.7. But looks as though that Edwards had a mistake last lap with a last lap time of a 55.3.
Yeah, so he's about 4/10 of a lap slower last time by for the car at Edwards there, and I think from what we've seen in not only this series and a few other ones over this season, the BMW's been very, very strong on the tyres. Normally it does come on very good late in the stint, but Gardner seems to be getting the most out of it right now. Only 11 minutes down on the clock, and the car working very, very well for him. But take nothing away from Craig Edwards. I think he'll just sit back a little bit. We know he's extremely fast after what we saw last week out at Le Mans, and he'll be in for a good run. Danny Davison, though, we didn't see him, I don't believe, out there last week at Le Mans, but finds himself up in that third spot for Elite Racing. So he's having a great run just behind these three. And really, at the moment, we're only got about 3.5 seconds covering those top three competitors out on track at the moment. And not far behind that, then you've got Bird, Lattimore, and Mitchell. So plenty of good racing in that top five.
Going to have a quick look at this battle at 14th position, Martin Crisp, who is trying to hold off the 712 of Neil Pearson.
Yeah, very strong battle. These guys are fighting over the 13th and 14th position respectively. And we haven't seen, I don't believe we've seen Neil out much this season, but great to see him having a very strong showing tonight. Up 3 spots from where he started, down in 18th position. So it's working well for him tonight in the BMW, and he's actually starting to apply a lot of pressure on the back of Crisp here now. So we'll keep an eye. It looks like he'll go down the inside and maybe get a move done, not just show the nose, but he's really starting to come on strong in the Privateer BMW. Similarly, just behind that, you've got Scotty Gamble, Johannes Koch, and Martin Casey all scrapping over the minor positions out just inside the top 20 as well. So these 6 cars very, very close together at the moment.
Be able to bring you the overtake that was made by Adam Gardner, and yeah, Craig just clipping the grass there and having to cop the slow down. So that's what promoted Adam Gardner into the first position. So it can be a bit tricky to judge that outside braking point, as Craig Edwards has found out. But yeah, certainly closing that gap back in. Last time around, 7/10 was gained by Edwards over Gardner.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky run there as you go into that final chicane, because you're pushing to try and straighten that corner out as much, or the chicane as much as possible. So, Craig very experienced. He won't do that again tonight, but certainly not the first night, be the last, the driver that will catch that outside edge and the grass there. But look at the speed he's got at the moment. Just getting out of that stadium section. He's closed right up on the back of Gardner now, 4/10 of a second, as the car's working their way down towards the Dunlop curve hairpin now, and that Ford's starting to come back into a strong position.
Won't be too long, I think, before we potentially see a move, but we're going to go on board quickly to see what the perspective of Craig Edwards is like as they're heading up to the Schumacher S. And a update from Race Control with car 773 and number 186 contact at turn number 1 at lap number 7. Which is Daniel Misdale and it's Justin Dulligan, so yeah, no further action there.
Craig starting to really apply the pressure on the back of Gardner. Just very interested with watching the way both these cars are performing over the curves there. The race organisers have got this fixed setup for both these cars, looking very, very good. The car's working extremely well over the curbs around here, which is ultimately going to aid the driver's confidence and getting the most out of these cars. And at the moment, it looks like Craig Edwards starting to get that coming back into stead. Last time by was 0.3 of a second quicker than Adam Gardner. So he's found something in that Ford that seems to be working very, very well for him.
Yeah, gap closing down to just under 0.2 of a second, so all sorts of pressure being applied to Gardner right now. Bit of an update a bit further back. The battle pack for 12th all the way through 17th has broken up a little bit. Martin Casey has a 1.5 second gap between himself and Scott Gamble, but still two groups of two battle packs of 3 cars out there, still going strong. You see that Martin Chris was 0.2 of a second behind Dave Miller as well, so you've got lots of battling going on out there still.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this series has really brought on exceptionally well. The driver talent and skill, while it is a fixed series, is really showcasing what these drivers can do. And looking at the moment, I mean, we've got, if we take the 2 drivers out front, for example, Adam Gardner just short of 2500 I rating, Craig Edwards just short of 5900, and these two are mixing it up exceptionally well. So a lot of very good racecraft between both of these drivers, and they're not taking anything away from the guys further down the order. They've got very good skills as well, as we see on the timing tree, just to see how close those battles are. As we come back here to Lee Vandenberg, the gap between himself and Justin Wallace, 0.4 of a second, and we know Lee's been very, very strong in this series so far and continuing to put on a lot of good pressure against the Race on Oz car. The Mark 1 and Race on Oz boys have been at it pretty much for a good couple of seasons now, and the racing between both these two teams very, very strong.
It's also good to see that there's a good mix of different manufacturers within the top 10, all well represented, fairly evenly as well, which is good to see. It goes to show you that the organisers have got the balance of performance within tolerance, which is great to see as well, so that you have different winners each week. I see that it was last week that Ferraris was a little too dominant, but yeah, with Le Mans it's heavily dominated track by the Ferraris, but good to see that the BMW and the Fords out there doing very, very strongly.
Yeah, definitely, and likewise the Porsche probably doesn't get as much love in recent outings, but good to see it still clinging on to a position just outside the top 5. But really, at the moment, BMWs and Fords probably the 2 cars that you want to be either in at the moment with the way everything's playing out. But that'll be what it'll be at the moment. But all in all, racing very, very close. This gap with Lee and Justin, probably one of the closest on screen at the moment. Martin Chris, Scotty Gamble and Martin Casey are also starting to close up again, battling for 13th. We've got them up on the screen right now, and not much between those 3 manufacturers and teams as well.
Yeah, certainly they're heading into the NGK chicane, the 343 of Scott Gamble going deep under brakes there. As you see that Dave Miller's into the pit lane, as well as Craig Edwards. So he's decided.
Yeah, I might have thought that would be a. So I think that might be a touch early for those guys coming in. We're just on 19 minutes, but probably not a bad opportunity if they do feel they are getting held up to get those compulsory stops done and back up.
Yeah, certainly, given that this is a same length as a IMSA Sports Car Series race. No, would have thought that the pit lane would have opened around, maybe say 10 minutes in, and then it will close around 35 minutes to go. Or as I see Dan Misdale getting the move on Paul Wood. Bit of a forceful move, but gets the job done.
Yeah, I think there's a slight little bit of contact there as Misdale got in just to the left rear quarter there. I don't think it'll see any action by race control. Good hard racing between both those drivers, but Misdale now setting his sights on Nick Sanfilippo just ahead of him in that Pulse Racing Porsche there. Nick looks to have a little bit of damage on the front end, so probably a little bit of earlier contact. But overall lap time between both these two, pretty comparative though. Having said that, Misdale last time by almost a second quicker.
Yeah, Misdale's trying to recover after his lap 1, turn 1 mishap. Doing a stellar job at the moment, making up probably good 10 positions from where he was at the end of turn 1, as Sanfilippo just jumps out the way, thinks that the damage is too much for him to be able to hold Misdale behind and cost him too much time in the process, so he just lets him go, which is pretty smart there from Sanfilippo.
It looks like we've also got a couple more drivers coming in, Jason Cozzi and Martin Crisp as well, for their respective stops. So probably about the time now most drivers are going to consider coming in. We've already had those couple of early stops with Edwards before, and I think that was one of the Porsches there. So those guys coming early. I think everyone will probably consider coming in now to get those stops out of the way and push on towards the back end of the race.
Yeah, certainly got a bit of an update from Nathan Huppert's, Edwards' teammate, that Edwards had a bit of a technical issue with a screen freeze as he hopped onto the grass, which caused Gardner to get that overtake done, as he sits 2 seconds ahead of Danny Davison at the moment. Last lap times have been very, very comparable, only a 100th difference.
Yeah, not much between actually the top three last time by and lap time, so just a bit over a tenth of a second, so absolutely nothing between them at the moment. Looks like Gardner going to drop in the lane now. That will give Danny Davison at least the lead for one lap. Going through, we'll continue to keep an eye though whether he comes in, and Bird likewise continuing on now. I must say though, looking at where our positional gains are throughout the field, the grid's starting to shake out quite a lot. We've got a lot of separation throughout the field right now. We've got Craig Edwards having a scrap with Rob Crusdale down the inside. I think that will probably go in favour of Edwards on the exit. He should get a nice straight line run and get this move completed down into turn 1, unless we see Crusdale go very defensive. But I think it'll be a pretty fair move if Edwards is able to get this one done. Not quite there under brakes, just keeping the nose out of the way. But that did notice too that Ferrari just ahead, Julian Klinbusek locking up a brake on entry, so that's not going to help his cause there either.
Yeah, the critical thing that was noticed as well, that Gardner comes out behind Edwards as well, so through that undercut Edwards has been able to regain the effective lead once the pit stop phase has cycled through. So a good couple of in-laps, couple of out-laps whilst Gardner was ahead has enabled Edwards to retake the lead.
Yeah, and I don't know whether Gardner had a drama there in his stop or not, but his stationary time was a bit over 4 seconds slower, obviously from Craig Edwards as well, so that ultimately didn't help his chance of retaining that top spot. He's now got his eyes full of Rob Crosdale in front. I think he's just cleared him now before they work their way onto the back straight, but that gap's starting to increase ever more.
Danny Davison into the lane as well, so also with Lee Vandenberg. So a couple more drivers taken to the pit lane.
Yeah, just behind Crusdale there, you got Daniel Misdale continuing on. Looks like Crusdale's going to jump in the lane for his stop, and I think that might have also been William Mitchell as well, coming in for a stop. So Nick Sanfilippo dropping in as well. So a couple more cars coming through for their respective stops. Getting back on track now. We've got Vandenberg back out, and the other guys just settling back into position. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all unfolds once pit stops are had, because looking at where all the drivers are currently on track, we've got drivers spread all the way throughout the course of the lap right now.
Yeah, just turning our attention to the lead at the moment. We've got Cody Bird in first position at the moment. He's got Steve Lattimore about 7/10 back. We'll see how Lattimore closes in. Last time, lap delta for Lattimore was about 7/10 in favour of the race on Oz driver.
Yeah, we know Lattimore though, very competitive driver, very consistent in the way he races these cars, so he'll no doubt close up on the back of Bird, but great to see Cody having a strong run up here at the moment. Obviously these two still yet to come down the lane respectively for their stops, but putting on a good fight. Lattimore we just see diving late to get his stop over and done with, but Cody Bird pushing on pretty well. We'll keep an eye to see how his lap times are with the clear air out in front. I think it'll be probably another good lap, similar to what we saw last time by. So last time was a 1:53. He runs through again, similar sort of time. So the pace overall for him at the moment looking very, very strong, and tyre consistency probably going to be a big key to him trying to retain that little bit of positional advantage out the front.
Let's go back to this battle here between Brendan Hawkins, Kenneth Latta, Michael Kirkham and Neil Pearson. You see that Hawkins into the pit lane, which it is. So I think Kenneth Latta has taken to the pit lane already, so he'll be promoted up into the 13th position. Up 4 positions from where he started, so having a good run. Same with Kirkham, up 7. Miller up 7 as well. Biggest.
Yeah, it looks like the bulk of our field too now has already cleared their stops now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly bring up the pit stop graphic. So it's only the top 4 that have not pitted in this whole field. So everyone getting their stops done early, which is certainly interesting to see from the driver, from our perspective. But we'll see how the weather has changed, if any. It's only a 1 degree track temp difference, with it going up to 40 degrees track temp, so not much of a delta, but the wind's certainly playing a little bit of havoc as well, with a southeasterly wind of 13 kilometres an hour. There's another one of the drivers into the pit lane, which is Justin Wallace.
I think these guys are probably starting to find the track conditions maybe just getting a little greasy, say up around that 40 degree mark at the moment. These cars will slide a little bit more, so we'll get a little bit more tricky coming into the braking, and probably that initial phase of turn in there as we see Latta still holding off. I don't think he's going to be able to retain this spot, although he does around the outside, and opens up for Kirkham through the inside. So nice little crisscross maneuver there for Kirkham. And he should make this move stick on the exit of the final corner, but that'll probably also bring into play Neil Pearson just behind as well.
Yeah, Pearson in the BMW. Not going to make it 3 wide. That DPR car in that background there was that Kenneth Latta holding on to the 13th position. Kirkham staying behind, but that's compromised his run and let Pearson into the fight even more. Only 7/10 of a second, but separated between these 3 drivers.
Yeah, I think that run down the front straight gives the viewers a really good indication just how quick that Ferrari is in a straight line, because he came off the corner, probably if anything just a touch behind Kirkham there, but was able to gain down on the run into turn 1. But might stick on board here for half a lap. We'll be quiet, we'll keep an eye on this as we watch the guys battling through the Dunlop curve for the last half of the lap.
you can actually see that extra traction that Kirkham actually got on the exit of the right-hander sweeper that led him onto the back straight, but wasn't able to fully utilise that benefit, as Ladder was very defensive into the education chain, and they stay put at the moment. See that Brett Hendo has come out in the 12th position, about 3 seconds ahead of this battle pack here.
Yeah, really interesting to see the way Lada's driving at the moment. Not doing anything untoward, but just placing that car quite nicely on the run up into NGK to retain that 13th position. He's going to really make Kirkham work for this one. And just behind that, Neil Pearson, you see him in the privateer BMW there, pushing on exceptionally hard to try and stay with these guys. He could even be the lucky beneficiary here if these two do have a coming together, which they've almost done now in the last couple of laps. So potential for Neil to jump up here.
Yeah, certainly we've got Cody Bird into the pit lane as well, so that leaves Scotty Gamble as the final driver to take to the pit lane as well. Not going to cut away for this battle as Gamble into the pit lane as well. So that is everyone been through the lane, and Craig Edwards will re-inherit the lead. See the Gardner's had a bit of an issue as well, which finds Danny Davison and Steve Lattimore into the podium positions as well. See if I can find a replay of that.
Yeah, I missed that exchange. I'm not too sure what happened. Danny Davison, though, sitting currently in second place. He's coming on exceptionally strong against Craig Edwards last time by only a tenth slower, so got a lot of pace in that BMW.
Bring up a replay of the overtake, potentially. It's a little bit too far back, I think, so it's where yeah, apologies for not being able to find the replay there, but yeah, with Gardner falling back a little bit from his earlier positions. Certainly not what Adam Gardner wanted, but still finds himself in the 4th position. Still a strong effort.
Yeah, I think he'll probably give Lattimore a good run for his money as well. He's not that far behind, so we'll keep an eye on that just to see if he's able to get himself back up into that podium position. But Lee Vernenberg still pressing on hard with Justin Wallace just ahead of these two. We've got Cody Bird coming back in 5th spot following his stop as well. So pretty much these four, Bird, Wallace, Vernenberg and Clement, are all going to be scrapping over that 5th position effectively for the final 10 minutes. God, it's hard to believe 10 minutes left in this race already. She's gone through pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Also see that Tim Phoeben and Martin Crisp battle for 18th and 19th position as well. Phoeben probably a little bit further back than what he wanted, but he's only lost 3 positions from where he started, so probably not the worst night, but certainly not what he would have hoped for as they're coming up through the start-finish line. Crisp weaving that little bit to try and break the draft, but that'll allow Phoeben to close right up and deep under brakes, trying that move that Clements made very early on in the race but not able to pull it off, leaves him a little bit too far back.
Yeah, turn 1 here is a very tricky corner, one that presents multiple lines for you to go through, and as you saw, you can make a move around the outside. It's a little bit harder, especially probably mid-race, unless you've got a big pace advantage or a slight issue from your competitor there. But all in all, they're putting on fantastic showing right now.
And Wallace is in the pit lane. Must have had a crash. Let's see what happened to the driver of Wallace. Oh, he's up on his roof. Let's see if we can... try and find that
We
one.
also had a Ferrari getting out of there as well.
There we go. Managed to find the replay. So that is one of the Mach 1 cars up the inside, and a bit of contact there, which is pushed Wallace in the middle of the track, and then sadly that's found Wallace on his roof. So bit of a mistake there for Wallace, but yeah, certainly unfortunate for the way his race ended there. He was certainly looking strong in the mid pack of the top 10.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate one there. It'd be interesting to see how race control view that, because it also looks like there was William Mitchell in that Ferrari there, a bit of an innocent bystander there, and effectively, or at the end of it all, managed to turn the Porsche over. So we'll see what happens there, but no doubt Mitchell lost a huge amount of time as a result of that. But I've got Johannes Koch up on screen at the moment, currently sitting in the 16th spot. Just ahead of him is Scott Gamble in the JPS Goodyear Ford, having a pretty good showing, up 5 spots from where he started, so a good run for Scott there. And just ahead of that group, you got Kirkham, Pearson and Miller as well. So a few good battles still going on. Looks like Vandenberg and Mitchell starting to heat up as well. These guys are scrapping over 9th and 10th as well.
Certainly just looking for any other battles a little bit further back. We've got Jesse Butler and Julian Klein-Bussink in the battle for 26th and 27th. So these drivers have either stayed in the same position, or I think Jesse Butler's been promoted 1 position from where he started. So certainly been an eventful race for these 2 drivers, even though they've been a little bit further back than potentially where they would have wanted to be.
Yeah, maybe not the best showing overall. I don't think we've seen Jesse out here in the last few races, possibly earlier on in the season. I'll have to get back through the notes to double check, but still a good showing for him, up 4 spots on where he started the race tonight, out of 28th, sitting currently 24th, so all in all a pretty good showing. Anytime you can move up the order is always a good time, but ultimately probably would rather be a little further up, as you say, Scott. Maybe ruining that. Looks like we've also got a good little scrap heating up here with battle for 5th at the moment, with Brett Hender and who's that? Oh, actually, I might have missed that. I thought we had Brett Hender actually getting into a scrap there as well. Sorry, we'll just go back. There we are.
So Kenneth Latta, Michael Kirkham and Neil Pearson. The spell hasn't deterred the other drivers. This was that Pearson getting up the inside of Michael Kirkham. A little bit of contact there at the right-hander sweeper, heading up into the Dunlop curve. Bit of extra pace there from Pearson. He's all over the back of Kenneth Latta at the moment.
Yeah, a little surprised to see that. I think that's probably one of the things we spoke of earlier coming into play, the tyre life of the BMW being exceptionally good towards the back end of the stint. So for him to close up a little more, probably going to lose that positional advantage down the run on the back straight with how quick that Ferrari is. But if you can hold it up under brakes, potential, as you see the ladder going very defensive into that final chicane.
Nice bit of contact there into the chicane, which will allow Dave Miller into the fight, as well as Scotty Gamble. Got under 5 minutes to go in this race, so potentially a post-race penalty if the race stewards deem that the case. But Kenneth Latta back into 15th position as Scotty Gamble up the inside, and Johannes Koch trying to get up the inside as well.
There's a really strong gaggle of cars back here. You see Pearson just losing the back end a touch at the end of the stadium section there. Likewise, Dave Miller trying to put a move on Kirkham just behind him as well. So a couple of battles starting to unfold, and that's all really sort of gone off following that little incident there with Ladder and Pearson. So it's going to be an exciting 2.5, maybe 3 laps for these guys to finish out this race while they sort themselves out.
So these two little battle packs are the closest on the track at the moment. Also got Lattimore and Gardner, half second between those two drivers. So that should be quite an entertaining battle. Just going to see how they're faring at the moment. It's Gardner very, very close at the moment, under 3 tenths now.
Yeah, going to be a strong fight for the, I think, what are we looking, probably 2.5, maybe 2 laps, maybe 3, depending on how these guys go through with the time. But Lattimore probably going to be in the better placed position with how strong the straight line advantages of that forward. So look for him to possibly retain that position. Michael Kirkham still pressing on. Gaps extended a little bit between himself and Kirkham, but Miller and Gamble starting to get on the back of each other as well now.
Yeah, certainly this battle pack's just opened up a little bit. And you're saying that's still very, very close. Cars are separated by no more than about 7/10 of a second between them. But still Gardner and Lattimore, 3/10 of a second gap. Might just close back on this battle here. Under 2 minutes to go, so I would say that there is one more lap after, well, yeah, one more lap when they come across the line, as Edwards will be starting lap number 24. Gardner very, very close on the exit of the right-hand sweeper, up, heading up towards the NGK chicane. Gardner having to look for the outside. Not going to be able to put any pressure. Gets a little bit close for comfort, but able to pull it up and make it through the chicane.
Yeah, these two have been exceptionally close together in more than one occasion, not only through this race but throughout the series as well. So they know how to drive around each other very well. They're normally fierce competitors, but a lot of good racecraft being shown right now. Lattimore is going to make Gardner work extremely hard to get this move done. Positions the car about 1 car width towards the middle of the track, which certainly allowed to do. He's not moving the car around at all, but going to make this as difficult as possible for Gardner to try and get this position and move up into the 3rd spot.
So you'll see that Sanfilippo has lost the position to Klein Bosink in the 25th and 26th position. So unfortunate for Sanfilippo in the closing stages of this race, but Gardner still all over the back of Lattimore. Lattimore on the defensive.
Yeah, Lattimore positioning that car exceptionally well. I'm just keeping an eye on where our race leaders are. Edwards just working his way out of the Schumacher S's there, so they're not that far ahead of this little group. But Lattimore positioning that car exceptionally well. Gardner's trying to keep it on the racing line. A late dive, could see a change here. Not quite close enough to get that move done there. And now he's going up pretty much to the final opportunity at the back end of this chicane.
Going to have to cut to our leader, Craig Edwards, coming up to the NGK chicane for the final time. Been pretty much a faultless performance apart from that early clip of the grass which sent Gardner, or which put Gardner ahead of him, but with some fantastic laps in the pit stop phase has granted Edwards the win today, and he will take the round number 9 win here at the Nurburgring for the Aussie Mixed and Fixed Championship. Danny Davison finishes in 2nd, and Lattimore was able to hold off Gardner with the late charge there, so great driving from the top 4 there. Also, you've got Dave Clemens coming across the line in 6th position. Just quickly go back to this battle here. Kirkham, Pearson, Miller, Gamble, Ladder, Crisp, Phoeben as well. So they were pretty much going across the line astern, no position change there. So San Filippo and Julian Kleinbusink for the 24th and 25th position. Kleinbusink able to hold off the charge from San Filippo at the end there. Small connection issue there for Julian, but yeah, they will come across the line in 24th and 25th. Little battle behind there, Delegan and what's that? Jesse Butler, 26th and 27th, and I think it was Jason Costin pretty much rounding out the field. And the last car that will be across the line will be Scott Chambers.
Yeah, great to see all drivers getting across the line now. That was a fantastic race, and while we wait for the drivers to come up, I think we'll be able to bring up the final finishing positions for tonight, and we'll recap those again just to let you all know where the favourite drivers finished up for round 9 tonight.
So Craig Edwards takes the win, 7.5 seconds ahead of the Race on Nos driver of Steve Lattimore. Adam Gardner, actually no, sorry, I think Danny Davison was finished in 2nd position. I'm not sure what happened there. I will quickly try and rectify that one.
While we wait for that, you can see the guys finishing up. Bit of a cool down lap going around. We're still keeping an eye on Scotty Gamble, just bringing his car home, and here we are.
Yeah, so we've finally been able to fix that little technical issue, so sorry about that. So yeah, Craig Edwards takes the win, 1.4 seconds ahead of Danny Davison, who finishes ahead of Stephen Lattimore, who rounds out the podium 7.5 seconds back from the leader. Adam Gardner finishes in 4th position. Cody Bird, strong result for him, in 5th position. Dave Clements in 6th. Matt Morris in 7th. William Mitchell 8th. Lee Vandenberg in 9th. And Brett Hender rounding out the top 10 for Team Hyperdrive. Neil Pearson finishes in 11th position. Michael Kirkham in the 12th position. Dave Miller 13th. Scott Gamble 14th. And Kenneth Ladder rounding out the top 15. Highest placed rookie driver Martin Crisp finishes in 16th position. Timothy Phoeben in 17th, Daniel Misdale in the 18th position. 19th was Pat Gallo, and rounding out the top 20 was Martin Casey. Richard Hunter finishes in the 21st position. Robert Christdale, probably not the result he wanted, finishes in 22nd. He was a lot higher up in the pit stop, just before the pit stop phase, so I'm not sure what happened to him. Paul Wood finishes in 23rd. Julian Kleinbusink in the 24th position. Nick Sanfilippo in the 25th with his issues that he had today with that front end damage. Finishes in 25th position. Jesse Butler in 26th. Jason Delegan 27th. Jeremy Clark in the 28th position after his pit lane penalty. 29th was Jason Cossie and Brenton Hawkins. Scotty Chambers in the 31st position. Johannes Koch finishes 1 lap down, and our drivers that did not take the checkered flag, Justin Wallace finishes 5 laps down in the 33rd position. Aaron Ivers 34th position. Grant Matterford rounding out our field of drivers today with our race admins at the bottom of that list.
So it looks like we've got a couple of the drivers coming in for interviews. We might bring round winner Craig Edwards up, and we'll have a bit of a chat to find out how things were for him tonight.
Hang on.
G'day, Craig. Welcome to the commentary box, mate. Congratulations on taking round 9 tonight out here at Nurburgring, mate. The Ford looking exceptionally strong again. How'd you find it out?
Yeah, thanks very much, Daniel. Yeah, good to be back on the winner's step tonight. A couple of weeks since I've been there. The race was a bit tricky at the start. I had a couple of screen freezes, and one of them sent me straight through that last chicane. And after that, trying to push Adam along, I got another slowdown. So I had to go for the reverse strategy and come into the pits nice and early and try and undercut. I didn't think it was going to work because I started to get in fights with guys coming through. But somehow I ended up back in front after all the pit stops came out. So from there, it was just a case of making sure that Danny didn't get too much of a run and made it home.
Yeah, we touched on a couple of good points there. Obviously, we did catch the little, well, if it was a screen issue, looked kind of like what potentially even caught the grass as well, which locked the car up a little bit through that final chicane there. But good to see the recovery. As for the pit stop, mate, did everything you needed to do. I think you were, 4 seconds quicker than Gardner in the stationary time, so that certainly no doubt helped. But we kept a weather eye on you coming back through the field. Looks like a lot of traffic there. And how did you find having to manage all that? The guys didn't seem to put on a lot of effort against you, obviously probably knowing where you were prior to the stops, but did you have any difficulties coming back through that field at all?
Yeah, I did. I think I only actually ended up having to go past 2 guys. One of them didn't make it too hard. The other definitely was defending their position quite well. So I thought I was losing a lot of time behind them. And then once I got past him, the next guy I got up to immediately pitted out of the way, which I thought was pretty sensible. And then from there, it was just a case of watching Danny watching me go past Danny as he was exiting the pits and thinking, oh, thank you very much, I'm back in first.
Yeah, definitely. And before we let you go, how did you find the track conditions out there tonight? I think 40 degrees towards the back end of the race, a little bit slippery out there. Was the Ford struggling in any aspects on the tyre setup, or everything pretty good? And
I think everyone was. The qualifying session was probably, I think it was somewhere in the 20s. We were doing low 52s, high 51. Oh, sorry, low 51s, high 50s in qualifying. To go from that to the 40-degree track, pretty much all the braking zones were maybe 20, 30 meters longer. And yeah, I came into turn 1 on lap 1 thinking that I'd braked early enough and still nearly blew right on through. So it was quite challenging.
no, mate, look, it's, much as there's plenty of challenge out there, I think as racing drivers we'll love having that to keep us honest. But it was a fantastic win for yourself. Obviously, regathered after last week at Le Mans, I think finishing 4th last week, coming back to take the win this time out at Nurburgring, mate. Fantastic run. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yep, 100%. Big shout out to the rest of my boys at Fusion Sim Racing. Particular thanks to Nathan Huppets, who couldn't make it to run tonight, but came in to give me some fuel advice just before my stop, which turned out to be absolutely perfect. And also big thanks to our sponsors, Dripping Paint Graphics, Eclipse Signage, and Carter Plastering.
Fantastic, mate. We'll let you get out of here. And again, congratulations on taking the round win tonight. And hopefully we'll see you back out on track again next.
No worries. Thank you very much.
And that was Craig Edwards. We'll bring up Steve Lattimore and Scott. I'll hand this one over.
Hey fellas, yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, the early contact, just close racing. Those things happen. Dropped back. I don't think the car was damaged, but I wasn't really getting as much as I was like out of the car. Can't say the rear. But yeah, then with the fuel strategy, managed to undercut everyone and to get myself straight back up into the lead. Well, not the lead, but fighting with the leaders. And yeah, just it was hold station, limit the mistakes, as the tyres are getting old. The Beamer looks after its tyres a little bit better than the Ford, so it was just making sure I don't lock it up. And yeah, fighting with Adam was really good. He's a good guy to race with. Sadly for Adam, he done quite well this week. He should have been up there on the podium. But yeah, I'll definitely take that third position.
Yeah, certainly. With the 40-degree track temperature out there, was it quite difficult for the Ford in terms of managing tyres there? Was you heard that from Craig Edwards just before that the qualifying weather was quite a bit different as well. So how did you sort of manage to adapt to the qualifying weather compared to the race weather compared to the qualifying weather?
Yeah, well, that did catch me out. I wasn't ready for quite a hot track, but you know that's racing. It was good fun. Yeah, it just meant take it easy, look after the tyres, especially in the first part. Kind of threw that out of my mind once I got the little tap in the rear, and just try to gain the positions, or at least keep up with Cody, I think it was. And then, yeah, at the end, those tyres were gone. They were struggling. It was 2 laps to go, and they were just off. And it was like, try your best to try to defend every corner if necessary, because I knew Adam was coming.
So we turn our attentions to the next round of the championship, round number 9 being at the Twin Ring Motegi circuit. Well, what are your thoughts heading into the next race, with it being a sprint race format?
I do like the sprint round. It does, having enduros, 45 minutes and 20-minute races. It brings a different element to each and every week, which is good. Sadly, the second race never always goes according to plan if you do well in the first one, or vice versa. But yeah, I like Motegi a lot. It's a good track. It's gonna breed a few overtakes depending on which layout that we use of it. I'm not too sure. I don't know if Ryan's too sure yet. But yeah, should be a good battle, a good race, fun track. Hopefully, it's that night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the provisional schedule, I think it's the full Twin Ring Motegi layout. So, as you say, it should be quite an exciting race. But just before we let you enjoy the celebrations, Steve, is there anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yes, Harvey Bay Autoglass, Race on Oz, all the boys over at the forum, all the guys that show up in each and every week who race for us on iRacing, the guys who've done it tonight and the guys who've done Scops as well earlier. Our sponsors over at the forum, AMX for putting it on, and Apex TV for broadcasting it, Apex Racing TV.
Thanks very much for that, Stephen, and certainly want you to go and enjoy the celebrations and have a great week and preparation for the next round of the championship at Twin Ring Motegi.
Cheers, fellas.
So that was our final podium position driver of Steve Lattimore. Sadly, not able to get a hold of Danny Davison, who finished in second position. But yeah, that was a absolutely cracking race out there, Dan. What are your thoughts at the conclusion of this round here tonight?
Yeah, look, I think it was another fantastic race in the books for the AMF guys. Again, the series continues to put on some fantastic racing, and again, that evident tonight. All the guys throughout the field, whether they be up at the pointy end or in the mid-pack and back end, all fighting exceptionally hard. A lot of clean driving. I don't think there was a lot of race control issues or penalties to be handed out. Obviously, probably a couple that'll go down post race. I think I heard the one with Justin Wallace potentially going to be looked at afterwards. But all in all, racing was very, very good. I think next week, as you say, we move off to the Twin Ring Motegi course, 220-minute sprint format race. There will certainly be very entertaining, and to see how the guys go. I think probably another circuit that'll potentially favour the Ferrari, potentially even the Porsche with some of the slower corners out there. But all in all, knowing how close and competitive the balance of performance is for all these cars should, again, provide some great, fantastic close racing.
Yeah, certainly with the conclusion of the Aussie Mix and Fix GT series here tonight, I'm just going to quickly go through the upcoming broadcasts we've got here, both on Apex Racing TV and our broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network as well. I think later on tonight we've got a one-off charity event that has been put on tonight as well. Just let me bring that one up quickly. That is the Sim Racers for Mental Health charity event that will be at Daytona Road. That will be a two-part stream here on Apex Racing TV. That'll start at 19:30 GMT. So be sure to tune in for that one. And then our regular broadcasting, we've got tomorrow. We have the World GT Championship at 8:10 PM GMT. That'll be on the iRacing Esports Network. Then later on the Monday night into the Tuesday morning, we've got the Rick Mattek Sports Car Championship. And on Tuesday, we've got the iRacing IMSA Official Sports Car Championship. That'll be on at 8:45 GMT, the official split there. BSR MX5 Pro Series on the Tuesday night. That'll be broadcasted on the iRacing Esports Network. Sim Racers World GT Championship will be on the Wednesday at 8 PM GMT on the iRacing Esports Network, as well as the Apex Racing League TCR Championship. Actually, that'll be on the off week, so no ARL TCR Championship on the Esports Network. On the Friday, we have the official IndyCar Road series as well. That'll be on the Friday at 8 PM GMT here on Apex Racing TV. Then I think the V8 European Supercar Championship on the Saturday will be on an off week, so sadly no V8 Supercar coverage here this week, but that'll be on the following weekend. The Formula Renault 3.5 Official Championship will be back this week as well. 8 PM GMT split on the Saturday night here on Apex Racing TV, and then we'll be back at the same time next week, 9:45 GMT for the Aussie Mixed Fixed GT Championship at the Nurburgring Mategi. So a lot of action coming up here on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network, so be sure to subscribe to both channels to be notified of the upcoming broadcasts. And with that, Daniel, certainly thank you as always for joining me tonight in these fantastic broadcasts as well, so much appreciated on that one.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, thanks you to all the drivers. AMF must also thank their main sponsor, RMS Race Management Service, as well, for hosting another fantastic event.
Yeah, rms55.com.au. Be sure to check those guys out for a lot of helpful tools that enable the broadcasts and the hosting of the race servers here tonight. We had I think 2 qualifying servers as well as the 2 race servers as well to be able to effectively organize and split those accordingly. It's a fantastic tool that those guys have created, and certainly enables these fantastic broadcasts as well, so huge shout out to those guys as well. But I think that will pretty much wrap up the broadcast for tonight. So thanks to Dan as always. My name is Scott Newton, and we'll be seeing you certainly for an upcoming broadcast, both here on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network.